Lewis Hamilton just got outperformed again by his own teammate in the exact same Ferrari. Same car, same upgrades, same moment, completely different result. Leclerc puts it third on the grid, closer to pole than Ferrari has been all season, while Hamilton drops to sixth, over a tenth and a half behind. That gap isn't normal, and it gets worse. Earlier in the session, Hamilton was actually faster. So how do you go from fastest to nowhere near your teammate in less than an hour? Even Hamilton couldn't explain it. He said he had no idea what went wrong. And when a seven-time world champion says that, it's not just a bad lap. It's a warning sign, because this isn't about one mistake. It's about something inside Ferrari that only one driver can unlock. And if that's true, this isn't just a qualifying loss. It's the beginning of a much bigger problem. It started like the perfect response. Ferrari arrived in Miami under pressure after mixed performances, questions about consistency, and a growing gap to the front. So they did what top teams always do. They brought upgrades. Not just a small tweak, not a minor adjustment, one of the biggest upgrade packages of the entire weekend. More changes than any other team on the grid. New components, new ideas, new expectations. And for a moment it worked. Because in the final part of qualifying, Charles Leclerc delivers exactly what Ferrari needed. Third place on the grid, closer to pole than they've been all season. A clean lap, controlled, confident, extracting almost everything the car could give. That's the version of Ferrari they were hoping to see. But that's only half the story. Because on the other side of the garage, the same upgrades told a completely different story. Lewis Hamilton finishes sixth, not fighting for the top three, not even close enough to challenge. And the gap to Leclerc, over a tenth and a half. In Formula One, that's not just a difference. That's a disconnect. Now here's where it gets even more confusing. Because if you go back just a little earlier in the session, Hamilton looked stronger. In the first phase of qualifying, he was the fastest driver on track. Everything looked sharp. The balance was there. The confidence was there. So what changed? That's the question Ferrari can't ignore. Because the car didn't suddenly become slower. The track didn't suddenly collapse. And yet, as the session moved forward, as the pressure increased, as every lap started to matter more, Leclerc found more time. Hamilton lost it. And that shift is where the real problem begins. Because qualifying is not just about speed. It's about evolution. Each run builds on the previous one. Each adjustment brings you closer to the limit. Leclerc kept moving forward. Hamilton didn't. And when that happens inside the same team, with the same car, it exposes something deeper. Think of it like trying to unlock a safe. Both drivers have the code, but only one of them is turning the dial at the exact right speed, in the exact right sequence. The other gets close, but never quite opens it. And right now, Leclerc is opening that safe. Hamilton isn't. Now, the natural reaction is to blame setup. Maybe Leclerc chose a different configuration. More downforce, more stability. Something that worked better in those final moments. That's possible. But even that explanation creates another problem. Because if one setup works, why isn't the other driver able to adapt to it? At this level, the best drivers in the world don't just drive the car. They evolve with it. And right now, that evolution is happening on one side of the garage, not the other. Which leads to a much bigger concern. Because Ferrari didn't just bring upgrades to be fast. They brought them to close the gap to Mercedes, to fight for poles, to fight for wins. And in one sense, they succeeded. Leclerc proved the car has that potential. But in another sense, they failed. Because that potential is not consistent, not stable, not fully understood. And that's dangerous. Because if only one driver can access the full performance, then the car itself becomes unpredictable, difficult to manage, hard to trust. And in Formula One, a car you don't fully trust is a car that costs you results. So now Ferrari is left with a situation that looks good on paper, but feels unstable underneath. A third place that suggests progress, a sixth place that raises questions, and a gap between teammates that should not exist if everything is working correctly. Which brings everything back to one critical point. This isn't just about Hamilton being slower. It's about Ferrari not fully understanding why. But here's where the situation stops being confusing and starts becoming a real problem. Because inside Ferrari, this isn't just about one qualifying session. It's about direction. When two drivers give you two completely different results with the same car, the team has to decide which path is the right one. And that decision changes everything. Now think about what Leclerc just proved. He showed that the car, with these new upgrades, can reach the top three. He extracted a lap that puts Ferrari closer to the front than they've been all season. That becomes the reference, the benchmark, the version of the car Ferrari will want to build around. But here's the problem. That version might not suit Hamilton, because Formula One cars are incredibly sensitive. Small changes in balance, in braking stability, in how the rear of the car reacts under pressure, can completely change how a driver feels behind the wheel. And drivers don't just adapt instantly, even at this level, especially not when the car itself is evolving. So now Ferrari faces a difficult choice. Do they continue developing the car around what works for Leclerc? Or do they try to bring Hamilton back into that window? Because doing both at the same time is extremely hard. And this is where things get even more uncomfortable. Hamilton didn't just lose time, he lost understanding. He openly admitted he expected more, that the car didn't feel right, and that he doesn't yet know why. That's not frustration, that's uncertainty. And uncertainty in Formula One spreads quickly. Because if the driver doesn't fully trust what the car will do, every corner becomes a question. Every braking zone becomes a risk. Every lap becomes inconsistent. Now contrast that with Leclerc. His lap wasn't just fast, it was controlled, measured, almost predictable, which means he's not just driving the car, he's connected to it. And that difference, connection versus uncertainty, is what creates gaps like the one we saw in Miami. But this is where the story expands beyond Ferrari, because other teams are watching this very closely. They don't just see Leclerc in third, they see Hamilton struggling, and that tells them something important. Ferrari is not fully stable. There's performance there, yes, but it's not locked in. It's not reliable across both cars. And in Formula One, that's an opportunity. Because if your rival only has one car consistently at the front, you can beat them with two. Now add one more layer to this. Ferrari themselves have already hinted that their real strength is not qualifying. It's the race, long runs, tire management, consistency over time. That sounds like an advantage, but it also creates pressure. Because if your strength is Sunday, you cannot afford confusion on Saturday. You need both drivers starting in strong positions. You need clarity. You need alignment. And right now, Ferrari doesn't have that. They have potential, but they don't have control. And that's the difference between fighting for wins and watching others take them. So now everything builds toward one crucial moment, the race. Because Miami will reveal something qualifying couldn't fully answer. Was this just a difficult session for Hamilton? Or is Ferrari creating a car that only one driver can truly unlock? Because if it's the second option, then this isn't just a temporary gap. It's the beginning of a divide inside Ferrari that could define their entire season. And this is where everything starts to tighten. Because once the race begins, there's nowhere left to hide. Qualifying can be explained away. A missed lap, a wrong setup, a tire window that never quite opened. But over a full race distance, the truth always shows itself. Now remember what Ferrari believes. They believe their car is stronger on Sunday. Better over long runs, more consistent, easier on the tires when it really matters. If that's true, then Miami should be their chance to fight back. But here's the problem. Race pace doesn't exist in isolation. It depends on where you start. It depends on clean air, strategy, confidence, and most importantly, control. And right now, Ferrari doesn't fully have that control. Leclerc starts near the front, in a position where he can attack, manage his race, and use that supposed advantage. Hamilton doesn't. Starting further back means dirty air, more traffic, more variables, more risk. And suddenly, even if the car is strong, the situation isn't. It's like having a fast car in a traffic jam. The performance is there, but you can't use it. Now add the psychological layer. Because Formula One isn't just technical, it's mental. Leclerc goes into the race knowing he extracted the maximum, knowing he understands the car, knowing he can trust it when it matters. Hamilton goes in with questions, with uncertainty, with a feeling that something isn't fully under control. And that difference changes everything. Because when the lights go out, decisions happen in milliseconds. Brake later or not, attack or hold position, push the tires or protect them. And those decisions depend on trust. If you trust the car, you commit. If you don't, you hesitate. And hesitation in Formula One is where positions are lost. Now think about how quickly this can escalate. If Hamilton struggles again in the race, the narrative grows. Not just outside the team. Inside it, engineers start leaning more toward the data that works, toward the setup that delivers results, toward the driver who is unlocking performance. And slowly, without anyone saying it directly, The car begins to evolve in one direction, Leclerc's direction, and this is where it becomes bigger than Miami. Because once development follows one path, it becomes harder and harder for the other driver to adapt. The gap doesn't just stay, it widens, race after race, session after session, until it's no longer a surprise. It's the expectation. But here's the twist. Because all of this pressure, all of this imbalance, all of this uncertainty, it's happening at the exact moment Ferrari is trying to return to the front. They don't just need speed, they need unity, clarity, two drivers pushing in the same direction. And right now, they don't have that. They have one driver proving what's possible, and another exposing what's missing. So now, everything comes down to one final, unavoidable truth. Hamilton didn't just lose to Leclerc again. He revealed a gap Ferrari cannot afford to ignore. Because if they solve it, they become a real threat to Mercedes and Red Bull. But if they don't, then Miami won't be remembered as a bad qualifying. It will be remembered as the moment Ferrari realized their biggest challenge wasn't the car in front of them, but the one inside their own garage. And the real question now is impossible to avoid. Can Ferrari fix this before it defines their season? Or has the balance already shifted too far to turn back?